When Ryan met her, he thought it was just another blind date. But then she looked straight into his eyes and said, "You don't remember me, do you?" And in that moment, everything around him froze. What she revealed next would change his life forever. You're about to hear a story that proves some meetings aren't coincidences. They're second chances written by fate. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Hopeful Stories so you never miss stories that touch your heart and remind you of the power of love, forgiveness, and destiny. Ryan Carter was 34, an architect with more blueprints than memories. His life had become a series of deadlines and lonely dinners, the kind of quiet that hummed in empty apartments long after midnight. His best friend Adam had been trying for months to set him up on a date. Ryan always refused until tonight. Maybe it was the exhaustion of being alone, or maybe he just wanted to feel alive again. Either way, he agreed. The cafe was softly lit, smelling faintly of roasted coffee and rain-soaked streets. Ryan sat at the corner table, the one by the window, nervously tapping his thumb against the coffee cup. He glanced at his reflection and chuckled under his breath. "It's just a blind date," he muttered, trying to convince himself that this was normal. Then the door opened, and she walked in. She wore a simple blue dress, her hair falling loosely over her shoulders. She wasn't the kind of woman who turned heads instantly, but when her eyes met his, the air seemed to thicken. There was something in her gaze, a softness, a flicker of recognition. "Ryan?" she asked with a small smile. He stood up quickly, nodding. "Yeah, you must be Emily." She nodded and took the seat across from him. For a few moments, the silence between them was almost comfortable. They ordered coffee, exchanged pleasantries, where they worked, how they knew Adam, the usual small talk that fills the air on first dates. But as Ryan spoke, Emily's expression changed. Her smile trembled slightly and her eyes glistened, not with romance but something deeper. After a long pause, she said quietly, "You don't remember me, do you?" Ryan frowned, confused. Should I?" Her lips curved into a sad smile. "I didn't think you would." The next few seconds stretched like years. The clinking of cups, the hum of conversation, it all faded around them. Ryan's heart began to race. "Have we met before?" Emily took a slow breath, eyes drifting to the window where raindrops slid down the glass. "Yes," she whispered. 10 years ago." Ryan blinked, searching his memory like flipping through an old photo album. 10 years? I'm sorry, I don't—" She reached into her purse and pulled out a small photograph. It was worn and faded around the edges. She slid it across the table. Ryan picked it up, and the world tilted. It was him, younger, sitting on a hospital bed. Next to him was a girl, maybe 16, wearing a white hospital gown and a brave smile. Her hair was shorter, her cheeks paler. But those eyes, they were the same. "Emily," she said softly. "Children's ward, St. Mary's Hospital. You used to bring me books." Ryan's breath caught. The image flooded back. Late nights volunteering at the hospital during college, reading to kids who couldn't leave their rooms. There was one girl who always asked him to read The Secret Garden. She had been sick, really sick. The doctor said she might not make it. He looked at her now, speechless. You're that girl?" She nodded. "Leukemia. Stage 3? You came every week. You used to tell me that someday I'd walk out of that hospital and chase the world instead of watching it through a window." She smiled faintly. "And I did. I beat it, Ryan, but I never forgot you." Ryan swallowed hard, emotions choking his voice. I had no idea. "You disappeared one day. The nurses said you'd been moved and I was transferred," she said softly. "And when I finally got out, I tried to find you, but you'd moved away." They sat in silence. The world outside blurred as memories filled the space between them. Emily's voice trembled slightly. "I wasn't sure if I should even come tonight. Adam told me about you. He didn't know we'd met before. I just wanted to see if you were still the same." Ryan leaned forward, eyes glistening. "And what do you think?" She smiled, the kind of smile that carried both pain and peace. "You're quieter now, sadder, but your eyes, they still look for good in people. That's the part I remember most." He didn't know what to say. All he could do was stare at the woman who had once been a fragile shadow of herself, now sitting strong and alive before him. Outside, the rain had stopped. But inside the cafe, something else had begun, something neither of them expected. They stayed in that cafe until the lights dimmed and chairs were stacked. Hours passed like minutes as they talked about lost time, about how life had changed. Emily told him about her years in remission, about becoming a counselor for kids fighting cancer. "I try to give them what you gave me," she said softly. "Hope." Ryan listened, his heart both heavy and light. "I never thought what I did mattered that much," he admitted. Emily shook her head gently. "You were the only one who treated me like I wasn't dying. You talked about tomorrow when everyone else was scared to mention it." Her words broke something open in him, a quiet ache he'd buried for years. He had spent so long designing buildings, but somewhere along the way, he'd stopped building connections. As they stepped outside, the city lights shimmered in the puddles, painting the world in reflections of gold. Emily looked up at the sky and smiled. "Remember what you used to say? There's always another sunrise." Ryan nodded slowly. "I said that?" "You did," she said. "The night before my last surgery. I was terrified, and you sat by my bed and told me that no matter how dark it gets, the sun always finds a way back." He laughed quietly, shaking his head. "I guess I needed to hear that again myself." They walked together down the street, their steps in sync. And as they reached the corner where their paths would split, Emily turned to him, her eyes soft but certain. "Ryan," she said, "maybe this isn't a blind date after all. Maybe it's life reminding us that some people are meant to meet twice." He felt something stir inside him, a warmth he hadn't felt in years. "Then let's not waste the second chance," he said. "Let's start again." Her smile widened, brighter than the city lights around them. "I'd like that." Weeks passed, and what started as a coincidence grew into something beautiful. They began volunteering together at the same children's hospital, this time side by side. Every time Ryan saw her reading to a sick child, her laughter filling the ward, he realized that their meeting wasn't fate's joke. It was fate's plan. Months later, on a quiet evening in that same cafe, Ryan placed a small velvet box on the table. Emily looked at him, tears welling in her eyes before he even spoke. 10 years ago, he said softly, "I gave you stories to help you believe in life. Now you've given me a reason to live it. So, Emily, will you write the next chapter with me?" Her answer was a whisper and a promise. "Always." As the cafe lights glowed behind them, they walked out hand in hand, two souls who had once met in the shadow of illness, now standing in the full light of love. Sometimes the people we help in passing become the ones who change our future forever. Ryan and Emily's story reminds us that no act of kindness is ever wasted. It may come back years later, carrying a miracle of its own. If this story moved your heart, please like this video and subscribe to Hopeful Stories for more emotional tales of destiny, love, and hope that prove the smallest kindness can last a lifetime.